Welcome to the official Windows 8 channel, and today we will talk about one of the probably the worst thing that can happen for most new users of Windows 8. How do you know if your devices are going to work in Windows 8? That's the biggest problem. And a lot of the time when you buy a new computer, we rarely buy new stuff with it. Most of the time people just, change computer because the old ones died or it's just too old and they're, thinking, well, it's time to change for something new. And the major problem is that what you have at home might have several years. So you might have that 6 or 7-year-old or 10-year-old printer. You might have that 7 or 8 or 10-year-old device like a webcam or whatever. The main problem in Windows is the fact that drivers for new devices are there because most of the time the manufacturer of that device took the time to write a new driver. One of the probably the biggest complaints of Windows users to Microsoft is, hey, bought that new computer, my printer doesn't work. The problem is that most of the time it's not the fault of Microsoft, but the fault of the company that makes the device. They need to do a new driver to make sure that it's going to work on your computer. And the problem is that sometimes companies, and not just sometimes, very often, companies are just going to say, hey, that's a $60 printer. You've had it for 5 years. It's time for you to buy a new one. And that's really unfortunate because I think there should be a minimum time for all companies to actually support their devices, whatever the price that you pay. I understand that a $40 printer is not interesting, especially because they have to put that tech guy, that programmer, do a driver for something that's not on sale anymore, that people can't buy anymore. So it's not interesting. And unfortunately, that happens a little too often. So how do you know if a device is available for Windows 8 for install? Just check on your device what is the device in question. For example, we'll go into the Google here, the Google page. I have an HP printer, okay? And my HP printer is a P1505 printer. That's a small laser printer. So I do P1505 and show you what it looks like. So this is the little printer I have. It looks like this. You need to check with the manufacturer. So I know it's an HP printer. So what I want to do is actually go down, click hp.ca or search for Google for the HP company. And once you are on the HP page, we'll go here at the top. No, let's go. Is there any HP page? Yeah, here we've got HP LaserJet right there. So here's a computer, the printer of sort. Most of the time you'll have support. On the top you see support and drivers. I'll click there and then we'll enter in the little search box a LaserJet P1505 and see what brings out. And so here it didn't do anything, so I'll go back and we'll actually drivers and software. Okay, LaserJet. So be as precise as possible. P1505 with your model. And it's going to search for some information. And here you see that it selects the operating system. If not, you need to know what operating system you're using. So here I have a Windows 8 64 bits. I'll click on that and I'll go to next. And so here we've got driver and product installation. So here it says version not available, product supported soon in Windows 8. So in my case, it's sad to see that no drivers are yet available, but it's interesting because they don't say that there won't be any drivers, they just say it's coming soon. So I'll just wait and hope that it's true and it's gonna work. But you might have a case where it says, well, no, there's no drivers available, and that's not going to work. You might also find that in the list of operating systems, your operating system is not listed. Does that mean that the product is not available or not working? Not always, but very often, yeah. Drivers are very finicky, are very, very complex little programs. They rarely work in different Windows of versions of Windows, but you can still try it, and you can still click. If you don't have a Windows 8, for example, I would probably try the Windows 7 driver and see if it works. There's a chance that it might, there's a chance that it might not. The problem with Windows 8 especially is the fact that it's a different and a new Windows core. So it's sufficiently different from other versions of Windows that most of the time those drivers won't work. But in older versions of Windows, for example, Vista and Windows 7 share the same core. So it happened that Windows Vista drivers could work in Windows 7. Not all the time, but very often they did. So you can try that. Keep in mind that if you install another version of Windows driver to try out, it can crash Windows. So you got to be really, really careful about that. So these are things you can try for. If there's no drivers, basically it pretty much means it doesn't work most of the time. And you got to be careful with one thing, is that if your printer or the piece of soft hardware that you're trying to use is more than 5 years old, you have almost no guarantee that it's going to work in Windows. So be careful with that. And yep, unfortunately you might have to change that old printer. A lot of people complain because the fact that very often those printers still work. Like here, if my printer didn't have a driver, well, it still works very well. And I don't understand, like a lot of people, I just don't understand why I should part from my printer. It's really unfortunate. So unfortunately that happens. And it often goes with the price. I've noticed that more expensive hardware tend to be supported longer. So an example is a $500 laser printer from 5 or 6 years ago has a good chance of having a driver, while a $40 printer of 5 or 6 years ago probably will not have any drivers for Windows 8. So gives you also an idea, but it's not a guarantee. I've seen $1,000 printers have no drivers for new versions of Windows. So hey, whatever the hardware is, the first thing you should do, find out who is the manufacturer. Google it, and then look for a model number of some sort on the device itself, and try to find drivers. That's the best thing you can probably do for old pieces of hardware. And if you have really that special hardware that you need every day, doesn't work, and it's just either something that's out of production or something that's so expensive that you just don't have money to buy a new one, well, look for an old computer. Maybe look around your friends, maybe someone has an old computer with an older version of Windows, and you can use that instead. But it is unfortunate that there's not that much support for old devices in Windows. This was a quick little video explaining what to do with your old devices, if you can install or not, how to know if they're going to work in Windows 8. Of course, one of the first things that I didn't mention, but just plug it in and see if Windows 8 has its own drivers. That can happen also on the devices like these. You just plug it in and look at Windows if they have a driver or not. So I hope you enjoy these videos. If you have this new Windows 8 machine that you use and you're a little lost, click the subscribe button and you'll be informed when the videos are online. And also check all our videos. We have lots and lots of videos explaining how to do a lot of stuff on Windows 8. So you'll become an expert slowly by watching all these quick little videos. And if you have a request of a feature you'd like to see a video on, let us know, and we'll try to put that video online for you. And of course, if you have comments or questions, never hesitate. There are no stupid questions. So thanks for watching, and hope you come back to the official Windows 8 channel. Bye bye.